For more than 1,000 days, the world of sports entertainment operated under one simple, undeniable rule. Everything revolved around Roman Reigns. He was not just the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. He was a force of nature, a gravitational center that pulled all narratives, all ambitions, and all spotlights into his orbit. The tribal chief, the head of the table. He was the final boss, the unconquerable mountain, the man who had defeated every legend and every hero placed in his path. We watched him build an empire, the Bloodline, and we saw him rule it with an iron fist. We believed we had seen his story from every angle, that we understood the depths of his power. We were wrong. Last night, on what was supposed to be a routine episode of Monday Night Raw, the empire was not just attacked, it was burned to the ground. In a horrifying display of coordinated violence, Roman Reigns was systematically taken apart, leaving him broken in the center of the ring. The show ended not with a triumphant pose, but with the haunting wail of an ambulance siren as the once invincible champion was rushed to a local emergency room, his condition critical and his future in sports entertainment shrouded in darkness. This is the story of that night. The night the head of the table was silenced, and a terrifying mystery was born. Who did this, and what does it mean for the world he once ruled? The evening had started with the familiar, arrogant swagger of the champion. Roman Reigns, accompanied by his ever-present special counsel Paul Heyman, made a rare appearance on Raw to address the WWE Universe. There was a tension in the air, a feeling that this was more than just a declaration. With the microphone in his hand, Roman was at his best, effortlessly commanding the attention of the thousands in attendance and the millions watching at home. He spoke of his dominance, of his legacy, and of the fact that no one, on Raw or SmackDown, was on his level. He demanded the world acknowledge him, the same demand he had made for 3 years. And as always, the world did. But as he stood there, soaking in the reaction, the first sign that something was terribly wrong occurred. The arena lights began to flicker violently, then, in an instant, they were extinguished. The entire building was plunged into an unnerving, absolute darkness. It wasn't a power failure. It was a deliberate act. For a few agonizingly long seconds, the only sounds were the confused shouts of the crowd and the increasingly panicked voice of Paul Heyman calling out Roman's name. When the lights returned, they were not the bright, vibrant lights of a television broadcast. Instead, the entire arena was bathed in a hellish, pulsing red glow, like an emergency beacon. The image it revealed will be forever burned into the memory of the WWE Universe. Roman Reigns was no longer standing tall. He was on his knees, dazed and surrounded. Circling him like predators were 5 imposing figures. They were dressed in identical, nondescript black tactical gear, their faces completely hidden behind stark, emotionless white masks. They carried no logos, no symbols, nothing that could identify them. They were anonymous agents of destruction, and they were armed. In their hands were not just the typical steel chairs, but brutal-looking lead pipes and heavy industrial chains. On the floor outside the ring, Paul Heyman was a mess of hysterics, having been violently thrown aside, screaming for someone to help as a wall of stunned security guards tried to hold him back. What followed was not a wrestling match or even a brawl. It was an execution. There were no words, no taunts, no explanations. There was only a symphony of pure, unadulterated violence. The 5 men moved with terrifying precision. One attacker relentlessly struck Roman's legs with a lead pipe, crippling his foundation. 2 others used the heavy chains to whip him across his back and chest, the crack of the metal echoing through the now silent arena. A 4th used a steel chair with surgical cruelty, jamming the edge into Roman's ribs and throat. The 5th figure, who appeared to be the leader, calmly watched the carnage for a moment before stepping forward and delivering a sickening stomp to the back of Roman's head, driving his face hard into the mat. The commentary team was in a state of shock, their voices trembling as they struggled to describe the horror they were witnessing. When WWE security finally tried to intervene, the masked men dispatched them with a brutal efficiency that spoke of professional training. They were not a wrestling faction. They were a hit squad. The entire assault lasted less than 2 minutes, but the message was permanent. When they were finished, they simply dropped their weapons, took one last look at the broken champion lying in a heap, and calmly exited through the crowd, disappearing as mysteriously as they had arrived. As the regular house lights finally came back up, the grim reality of the situation set in. The ring was swarmed by medical staff and WWE officials. Roman Reigns was not moving. They carefully fitted him with a neck brace and loaded his limp body onto a stretcher. The camera followed the somber procession as they carried him backstage, past the shocked and silent faces of other WWE superstars, all the way to the loading bay where an ambulance was waiting. The final image of the broadcast was the ambulance doors slamming shut, its lights flashing as it sped off into the night, leaving a legacy in tatters and a universe full of questions. In the wake of such a shocking and personal attack, speculation has run rampant. An act of this magnitude is not random, it is a carefully planned conspiracy. Roman Reigns has a long list of powerful enemies, and several key figures have emerged as prime suspects in this brutal assault. Suspect number 1. The American Nightmare's Dark Revenge. The most obvious name on everyone's mind is Cody Rhodes. No one has come closer to dethroning Roman Reigns in recent history. At WrestleMania, Cody poured his entire being into his quest to finish the story, only to be defeated by Roman with the help of the Bloodline. That loss was more than a disappointment. It was a soul-crushing moment that could change a man forever. Perhaps Cody learned a hard lesson that night, that playing by the rules and being a hero doesn't get you to the top. The only way to defeat a monster like Roman Reigns is to become an even greater monster. It's possible that Cody, in his desperation, decided that if he couldn't win the war honorably, he would end it through other means. Hiring a team of mercenaries to eliminate Roman from the equation would be the ultimate dark turn for the American Nightmare, a betrayal of his father's legacy, but perhaps in his mind the only way to secure his own. Suspect number 2, the final boss's ultimate power play. Family drama within the Anoa'i dynasty is legendary, and at the top of that family sits The Rock. He recently returned not as the people's champion, but as the final boss, a corporate powerhouse who aligned himself with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. But was this alliance genuine, or was it a Trojan horse? The Rock has always coveted the position of the true head of the table. He may have seen Roman's historic reign not with pride, but with envy. By joining the Bloodline, he gained an inside look at the Empire's operations, learned its weaknesses, and waited for the perfect moment to strike. An attack like this, carried out by highly trained professionals, would require significant resources and influence, something The Rock has in abundance. As a member of the TKO Board of Directors, he has the power to orchestrate a blackout and ensure his tracks are covered. With Roman removed, The Rock can step in to lead the family through this crisis, seizing the power he believes has always been his birthright. It would be the most ruthless corporate takeover in WWE history. Suspect number 3, a civil war within the Bloodline. The most chilling possibility is that the enemy was already inside the gates. For years, Solo Sikoa was Roman's loyal enforcer, the silent muscle who ensured the tribal chief's will was done. But recently, a change has been evident. Solo has been acting more independently, bringing in his own brutal family members, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, and creating a more vicious version of the Bloodline. He has claimed to be acting on the orders of the tribal chief, but many have questioned the truth of that statement. Paul Heyman, in particular, has looked terrified of Solo for weeks, as if he knew a coup was brewing. Solo may have decided that Roman's leadership had grown weak or complacent. This attack could have been his move to seize control, a violent purge of the old guard. By taking Roman out, Solo can now claim leadership for himself, shaping the bloodline in his own ruthless image. It is a classic tale of betrayal, where the loyal son rises up to overthrow the king. Suspect number 4, the terror of an unknown enemy. Finally, there is the most frightening possibility that the attackers are none of the usual suspects. This could be the arrival of an entirely new force in the WWE, a group with no history with Roman, whose motives are completely unknown. Their anonymity and the military precision of their attack suggest they are unlike any faction seen before. Their goal may not be the championship, but chaos itself. For 3 years, the entire WWE landscape was defined by Roman Reigns. By removing him, they have shattered that landscape and created a power vacuum. This new group may want to tear down the entire system, and they started by destroying its central pillar. They sent a message to the entire world. The old gods are dead, and no one, no matter how powerful, is safe. As the dust begins to settle, the consequences of this attack are becoming clear. WWE issued a formal statement confirming that Roman Reigns suffered multiple serious injuries, including a severe concussion and fractured ribs, and that he will be out of action indefinitely. The undisputed WWE Universal Championship, the symbol of his dominance, is now without its owner. The throne is empty. This creates a land of opportunity for the rest of the roster, but it is an opportunity born from fear. Every superstar, from Seth Rollins to Gunther to Randy Orton, must now be looking over their shoulder, wondering if the men in the white masks are coming for them next. If they could do this to the untouchable Roman Reigns, then no one is safe. The locker room is a mix of ambition and paranoia. A new champion will eventually be crowned, but they will rule a kingdom haunted by the ghost of its former king and the threat of his anonymous assassins. The Roman Empire has fallen. The head of the table has been silenced. The bloodline is broken. A new, uncertain era has begun, not with a triumphant coronation, but with an act of unspeakable violence. The question is no longer about who can beat Roman Reigns. The question now is who will be brave enough to rise, and who will be the next to fall in the brutal war for his vacant throne.